Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we are going to look at the intentional brainwashing and dumbing down of the American public. I mean, it's already been a process that's been ongoing, but now it's made out in the open, clear as a bell. The elitists don't like people being educated, being intelligent. Yeah. Because here's a recent thing that's happened, an article from Vox. The White House has a preferred alternative to PBS, who they recently defunded. It may already be in countless classrooms. The right-wing network PragerU could fill the void left by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting's defunding. Yeah, a propaganda network, PragerU. It's not about facts, it's about telling its own version of what's going on. To give you an example, here's a quick little video from Now This. Let's go ahead and give it a like. But yeah, let's play this here for y'all.
Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no?
No. One takes your whole life away slowly, the other just ends things there and then. You're full of shit, PragerU.
I don't see the problem.
That's educational programming for kids from unaccredited conservative nonprofit PragerU, which is partnering with the White House right after defunding cuts to PBS. Already, PragerU videos are approved for use in classrooms across several states, though most districts haven't implemented them, likely because the lessons are widely criticized for being factually inaccurate. The material,
like I said, it's propaganda. It's not about truth. It's about spreading what they want you to believe. Propaganda.
promotes a whitewashed history that minimizes and justifies slavery, pushes anti-LGBTQ+ and anti-diversity messaging, denies climate change, and is filled with misinformation and propaganda favoring right-wing ideology. But that makes sense since PragerU was founded by suspected white supremacist Dennis Prager, who complained about not being able to say the N-word in 2020. This is an example of their propaganda, which teaches that abolitionist and former enslaved person Frederick Douglass would have agreed with America's choice to prioritize white supremacy over ending slavery.
I'm certainly not okay with slavery, but the Founding Fathers made a compromise to achieve something great.
In June, the White House introduced PragerU as a new educational partner during the launch of its Founders Museum exhibit, where the
I mean, this is going to be bad. It really is. Because Prager is a propagandist, suspected white supremacist, as the video just pointed out. And yeah, for a long time, it's been shown that this is nothing but propaganda, PragerU. PragerU's propaganda out the wazoo. It's not facts. Many people have shown, yeah, there are so many freaking falsehoods or misrepresentations of history with PragerU. And now President Pedophile wants to make it how things are used for education.
presented the nation's origin story. In one video at the exhibit, an AI John Adams borrowed Ben Shapiro's famous phrase,
"Facts do not care about our feelings,"
which is ironic since conservatives have a lot of big feelings about facts. That's why they're trying to hide them. We don't know exactly what this partnership will look like, but the right accuses the left of indoctrinating students to justify their actual indoctrination, which is really nationalist mythology with no basis in truth.
Yeah. It's really ridiculous. I mean, it honestly is. They're so willing to put this propaganda in here. And like I said, this has been part of an intentional plan since Trump's election into the People's House, which honestly there's questions now whether it was a genuine election, whether there weren't back behind the scenes BS, but we'll not go into that for now. How dismantling the Department of Education would harm students. This is from the National Education Association today, NEA. Trump administration is taking a wrecking ball to public schools, inflicting damage on millions of students across the country in the process to pay for tax handouts for billionaires. And this is something I believe I've discussed and mentioned before. They want to cut public schools so they can pay for private vouchers, Christian school vouchers, and ultimately this is just going to fuck over America as a whole. It's really going to fuck over the majority of people. This is when we've surpassed the original Gilded Age in corruption, in vile actions. They'll look at this point in history and say, yeah, it surpassed what we thought was the original most dangerous point in history, the first Gilded Age. But the second Gilded Age, like the Second World War, proved much more devastating than the first. Yeah. And it's all because President Pedophile loves his billionaires and millionaires. From the BBC, what does the U.S. Education Department do, and can Trump truly dismantle it? One of President Donald Trump's top aims is to dismantle the Department of Education, and in the opening days of a second term, he signed an executive order to begin taking apart the agency that administers student loans for thousands of borrowers, runs programs to help low-income children, and oversees some funding for public schools. Yeah, they're pulling it apart like they did the truth doctrine for, like the FEC did with the truth doctrine to try to tell the truth in media. And now we've got the BS running rampant in American media. Trump is now one step closer to his goal after the Supreme Court ruled on Monday that his administration could move ahead with plans to lay off half the department's workforce, more than 1,000 people. The six conservative justices on the Supreme Clown Car, 3 of whom were appointed by Trump, voted to stop a lower court judge's order that had blocked the firings. The 3 liberals dissented. On social media, Trump called the ruling a major victory for both parents and students, who could pave the way to carrying out his executive order, saying Education Secretary Linda McMahon could now begin this very important process. Trump and his allies have accused the department of indoctrinating young people with social or racial, sexual, and political ideologies. No, it's called providing facts. You're the ones that propagandize and indoctrinate people. But they're too fucking propagandized and indoctrinated now to understand that. Stupid asses. Conservatives, though, have long sought to eliminate the department almost from the moment it was established in 1979. A complete shuttering would have most likely have to involve Congress, and so Trump's approach has been to dramatically shrink its reach and capacity. What does the department do and not do? A common misconception is that the Department of Education operates U.S. schools and sets curricula. That responsibility actually belongs to states and local districts. The agency does oversee student loan programs and administers Pell Grants that help low-income students attend university. It also helps fund programs to support students with disabilities and for students living in poverty. And the department enforces civil rights law designed to prevent race or sex-based discrimination in federally funded schools. They're playing politics with my little boy. What Department of Education cuts mean for one mom. So yeah. This what is its budget and how people work there. How many people work there? The department's allocation was $238 billion in fiscal year 2024, less than 2% of the total federal budget. The agency has about 4,400 employees, the smallest of any cabinet-level department. The Trump administration has sought to cut that, and the department announced plans to slash about half its workforce. Most public funding for the U.S. schools comes from state and local governments. In 2024, the Education Data Initiative estimated that the U.S. spends a total of just over $857 billion on primary and secondary education, the equivalent to $17,280 per pupil. Yeah, meager when you consider a government paying to educate a better, stronger populace. On his own, no. He couldn't really shut down the department. Not only would Trump need congressional approval to get rid of the department, but he could also probably need a supermajority in the U.S. Senate, 60 out of 100 senators. The Republicans have a 53 to 47 majority in the Senate, so they would need about 7 Democrats to vote to abolish the agency, a political long shot. Even in the House of Representatives, Trump might struggle to gain necessary support. The vote last year to abolish the department, which was attached an amendment to another bill, failed to pass as 60 Republicans joined all Democrats in the House to oppose it. Trump's executive order directs Secretary Linda McMahon to take all necessary steps to facilitate the closure of the agency and transfer authority to state and local governments. It also instructs her to ensure the effective and uninterrupted delivery of services, programs, and benefits on which Americans rely. It does not include a timeline or deadline for the move, which has faced legal challenges. Trump has moved to shrink other government departments in recent months, despite questions about the legality of those moves. The Education Department employees are among those who are the focus of the administration's efforts. But yeah, I'll leave that there. There's 2 more portions. I'll let y'all read them on your own. Student loans. Okay, let's go end it with this last paragraph here. Why do Republicans want to abolish it? The idea of eliminating the Education Department has been floated by them for nearly as long as it has existed. During Reagan's 1980 presidential campaign, he pushed for it to be dismantled. Republicans have historically pushed against centralizing education policy, believing that it is best left up to states and localities. More recently, they have accused the Education Department of pushing what they describe as woke political ideology onto children, including on gender and race. I'd rather they learn about that than the fucking evil shit you want them to believe. Trump's allies, who also want to expand school choice, again, they want to expand private school choice, religious school choice, which would allow students and families to use public money to select private or religious alternatives to public schools, which is fucking bullshit. Public schools was one of the bedrocks during the 50s and 60s that built this nation into the powerhouse it was. But cocksucker Republicans and President Pedophile, they want to destroy it. Conservatives argue that the education department functions should be handled by other agencies. For instance, that civil rights infractions are the Department of Justice's domain. Should they team together? Yeah. Because we know how full of shit Republicans actually are. We know the lying cocksuckers and bastards they fucking actually are. Yeah. This is leading to the dumbing down intentionally of the American public. Again, many people can argue that it's already happening under certain social media feeds and everything, but there are certain foundational things that should be known, and they want to say, no, screw y'all. I'm just disgusted and disturbed by the evil, the corruption. It's so just the complete lack of respect for the American people, the great majority of America. Now, again, public schools should be the bedrock foundation of an educated nation. And they're trying their best to kind of cut that apart. They're trying to use right-wing propaganda like PragerU to replace actual, genuine, decent stuff that was on PBS. Again, this administration, this government has went too far and is destroying America. But we'll go ahead and end this episode there. As always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting these links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.